Dude, I folded all my fingers back.
When you were rolling over someone?
Yeah. So we were doing this drill, and it was escape from a body lock, right? So I had a body lock on Mark, and he got me in like a
Mark, the guy that sits
Mark.
there?
Yeah, Mark, and he got me in like a Dagestani handcuff. And we moved out, and I kind of like braced myself like this, and then I just saw all my fingers go like rock backwards, and I was like, oh my God.
Did you dislocate them?
Probably. I don't know.
He does some weird stuff.
They're all screwed up. Like, I can't make a fist.
When was this?
When Matt taught, so it was last Wednesday. And so I'm figuring like another week and a half, and I'll be back to normal.
You're just going in, kind of going through the motions?
Yeah, I rolled on Monday, and it was fine. But like, it's still like it's super swollen, and like all the ligaments are all inflamed. Mm-hmm. It's just terrible. And I just came back from injury.
What was your injury before?
So I was getting like big on foot sweeps, and
like standing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love those.
Yeah, and I got Martin with one, and so I was like, fuck, I'm gonna try this on everybody today. And you know that big dude Nick?
Oh yeah,
dude.
Nick Temple.
I don't know. He rides motorcycles. He's big. He's like 6 something. He's a big dude. Anyways, so he was doing a bunch of Muay Thai, right? And so I go to sweep him, and he checks my knee with his knee, and like got me in the shin. And my leg was like bruised from just below my knee all the way to my toes for like a month.
Yeah,
it was disgusting. I had like a fist underneath my leg.
That happened to me just from doing practicing. You know, when I'm on the bottom and doing shin to shin.
Yeah, and
just checking and just work or on top trying to enter and doing shin to shin. And literally, like it became to where I'd hit it and it just like dropped me.
Yeah. It still hurts. Like I still have like a big bruise from it. It's disgusting.
Well, tough deal.
It's jiu-jitsu.
Dude, tell me where you're from and stuff first. I don't know. I mean, we've met and stuff,
I know.
But I don't really know where you're from. Tell me a quick story.
So, born and raised in LA. I was like walking distance from UCLA is where I grew up. Mm-hmm. I went to public high school, where I was a minority, being white. It was pretty fun. I learned a lot. Moved around a little bit. My wife, she was my girlfriend then, but decided to go to grad school in Arizona. So we went to Arizona for 2 years. And my brother-in-law had moved to Bend in 2006, I think. And when my wife got done with graduate school, she was like, we can't go back to LA. Like, where are we going to go? And I was like, well, let's just go to Bend. And so we rented a house sight unseen across the street from my brother-in-law. And we lived there for a couple of years, and we've been here ever since.
How long ago?
It was, I think it was 2007.
Okay. So you've been here a long time.
I've been here a long time.
Yeah. It's funny how time flies. It's already been 4.5 years for me.
I know, man. It's wild.
I'm just now starting to meet, like, I think COVID was tough, but now just starting to meet more people. My kids are in school, so you kind of meet more people that way.
Yeah.
Then the school has been awesome for meeting people too.
What school?
Or the gym or whatever.
The gym is different.
Yeah. Cool, man. So you work for a company that does
psilocybin.
Psilocybin.
So I'm actually the co-founder.
Okay.
I'm the co-founder of Bend Inner Alchemy.
Yeah.
And what we do is we are a state licensed, totally legal psilocybin facilitation center. And psilocybin is the active ingredient. It's like THC in cannabis. Psilocybin is the active ingredient in magic mushrooms.
Yeah.
So we are the 20 7th fully legal and licensed facility in the state of Oregon. We're the largest center outside of Portland, square footage wise. And it's just right here in Bend.
So how did you get into it? Like, give me a little background. Like, what's your background? Like, kind of give me how you got into this.
So I'm a hostage in this situation. It's my wife's idea. So my wife's a physician's assistant in neurosurgery. Mm-hmm. So she's basically, she hates me saying this, but she's basically a brain surgeon. And she works at the center here in Bend. And she has been there for 15 years. And psychedelics had kind of started to come back into kind of fashion, I guess you could say. And she heard about, we voted for Prop 109, which was the state of Oregon's legalization of the medical use of psilocybin for therapy. And so when that whole program was kind of coming online, she realized that there was a calling that she had to doing this. She's, thought about doing other things besides neurosurgery, but this was something that she felt was pretty important. She was really drawn to it. And so she ended up going to a facilitator's school. So the state has mandated that there's a curriculum that these schools have to follow so that you can become a facilitator. So it's not just anybody can just sit down and go, hey, yeah, I'm here for your trip, So she went through facilitation school and realized that there's a vacuum of where these people are going to work. And so we kind of, late night talk. She was like, hey, should we open up a center? And I'm a sucker. I'm like, yeah. How hard can it be, right?
Yeah, right.
So that's a very condensed story, but,
what was her calling about it? I think I have an idea, but
sure.
Tell me, we can be free about, I have my views on some of the ways that psychiatry is handled.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, how that.
So psilocybin is a very interesting thing. It's, I like to call it a tool because it can be for funsies. Like there's definitely an aspect of the party aspect of it, but in a therapeutic setting and in a where you actually have intention of what you're trying to achieve, it's pretty magical. And the mushrooms, the people in our industry like to talk about the mushrooms telling you the story, and the mushrooms will tell you what you want to hear, and sometimes what you don't want to hear. Mm-hmm. And she, during her facilitation school, felt like there was more to be said with mushrooms, and that she could really change some people's lives and have a real big impact on certain sectors that she's interested in, like end-of-life care, mm-hmm. Hospice people, and it's not just the person in hospice, but the family surrounding. So psilocybin can have a huge impact on all those circles of people. And she just felt like she could make a pretty big impact on people's livelihood and how they can approach life.
Yeah. Mostly in a microdose, or is this macrodose?
This is macrodose.
Because I was watching Joe Rogan and they were talking about this, and somebody was telling him, no, macrodose. So obviously the microdose, I see and I know people who use it who've dealt with depression their whole life, and they're like, this is a lifesaver. Nothing else really worked, or it had super bad side effects, right? Mm-hmm. And the microdose just gave them enough, right? It didn't get them high, just enough. Yeah. But what would the macrodose do? Is it more like a awakening
Well,
process? Or?
and that kind of goes back to what I was saying, is that the mushrooms will tell you the story that they want to tell you. And a lot of what we press very hard is that this isn't a magic bullet, but you're going to have an experience. And so we give you a big dose, and you plan on spending between 5 and 8 hours at our facility, usually with an eye mask on. We play music. Like, it's a big deal, man. So some people want to have what's called an ego death experience, where you're so inward that you're trying to kind of like I don't even really know how to describe it, but trying to kill your ego.
Yeah.
You want to get rid of all these adult things that we go through every day that are that we're involved with, paying the taxes.
I mean, the layers of life. That barrier you from your real you, maybe,
mm-hmm.
right? The raw.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And so you have these inward journeys, and you don't just kind of come in and we hand you the mushrooms and go, see you later.
Yeah, right.
See you in 6 hours. There's a lot of involvement and a lot of contact.
Mm-hmm.
So we have, I call them milestones, but when you first engage with us, you fill out a pretty extensive survey on our website, which is basically, we want to make sure you're the right candidate. Mm-hmm. And so, like, if you have feelings of self-harm or psychosis or things like that, we're like, yeah, no thanks. Mm-hmm. Because psilocybin can sometimes bring out real negative stuff. But if you're like stuck or depressed in talk therapy, or you have a barrier that you're trying to overcome, like in sports or something, or you feel blocked in your life, you'll tell us about that.
Like a truth serum?
No.
You know what I mean, though? Like
yes, I do. It's really so that we can get to know you. Mm-hmm. So you'll tell us, like the form fills that we get, they're like, I've been doing talk therapy for 5 years and I'm stuck. I'm blocked, right? So then if you're a good candidate, then we want you to come in and talk to us. And so somebody will reach out from our center and talk to you on the phone and kind of prepare you for what is going to happen. And then you have the first milestone, which is where we match you up with one of our facilitators. And we have like 8 of them. And they all have different characteristics. They're all state licensed, but some of them are more focused on the kind of woo stuff that we talk about, like crystals and, chakra and all that. Mm-hmm. And then some of them are just more clinical, and they're just kind of, they just sit with you. And the first milestone is called your prep session. So you come in and you meet with your facilitator one-on-one. You talk about your goals and what you want to get out of the journey. And then you go home, and usually they'll send you home with homework, because it's, like I said, it's not a magic bullet. There needs to be work on both ends, so the pre and the post. So then you come back to our facility and you have your journey, anywhere from 6 to 8 hours, where you listen to music. We have these really comfortable, warm, welcoming rooms, because we want you to not think about the exterior. We want you to be interior, mm-hmm. and we want you to search and find the question that you may have, the answer, whatever. And then you go home, and then you come back one more time for what's called your integration, which is where you digest everything that came up during your journey. The whole time a facilitator's sitting with you. They can't leave you. The state says they can't leave you. We say they can't leave you.
Yeah. So to make you feel safe, maybe, because just if you start to panic or something like that, it's like, hey, you're good.
Yeah, but they also want you to like, well, what's that feel like? Can we explore that feeling? They can't direct you, they can't guide you, but they can cue you into, like if there's something that's disturbing or something that you're scared of or something that's welcoming, and you have this feeling, you have some kind of feeling. They want you to explore that, and they will cue you into, what does it feel like?
Yeah, so it's like tapping into some real deep subconscious stuff.
Very deep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And it's weird, like, not weird. I think it's
It
great.
is weird.
But I think it's great that, governments are like going, like, obviously we have problems with mental health in this country.
Yeah.
There's no question. And a lot of it keeps getting worse, even though there's way more medication and it keeps getting worse. So like, how do you fix this, right? Like, so now that's like the MDMA.
Yeah.
And then the mushrooms.
Yeah.
And
ketamine therapy also.
Ketamine therapy.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like they're finding all these different ways because it's not really physically addictive either, right?
On like an addiction scale, there's actually there's addiction scales of, heroin's over here and psychedelic mushrooms are like way over here.
Yeah.
Nicotine's, way on that other side as well.
But there's not going to be like a physical, like after being like alcohol, you have a physical reaction from
the phenomena of craving, I don't think exists in this setting. Plus, it's not for funsies.
Yeah.
You're really doing, the state has allowed us to say you're really doing therapy.
Yeah. It's come a long way.
And
how long has it taken? Because it's been talking for years, but like when did
hundreds of years.
Yeah, but like I don't know. I just heard about it. I don't know, maybe 5 or 10 years ago. They started talking about it, and then you said now you see these facilities, and I didn't realize like that Oregon has signed off on allowing it.
First one in the country. First one in the world. Colorado's coming online next. They're coming online, I think, in 2025. Yeah. They're going to change a few things, but...
What about is there work at the FDA right now with this stuff? I know that there's been stuff with MDMA and stuff like that.
That's the only thing that I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the climate of the government is a little bit more willing to kind of come back to where they were, I think it was in the 60s, I can't remember, but before Nixon kind of put the kibosh on it,
mm-hmm.
there was a lot of study on psychedelics, LSD and psilocybin.
Yeah.
And then they said, no way, man.
Yeah.
You're done.
Just maybe the lack of understanding, but this stuff's been going on for, before we settled in America or whatever. They've been using it therapeutically.
Yes.
And different psychedelics.
Yeah,
like
ayahuasca, peyote, and I mean, ayahuasca ceremonies have been going on for forever. Mushroom ceremonies have been going on for a long time. In Oaxaca, where anecdotally, the mother of the ceremony, I think that little region in Oaxaca had been doing it for, I don't know, maybe thousands of years. I'm not sure. Yeah. Can't quote me on that, but
yeah, for sure. No, it's actually, I think it's great just because there's so many people, like, it's just like I don't want to go too deep into the new, psychiatry these days is just like, how quickly can they get you through the door and how many people can they get you through the door? Absolutely. It is like unbelievable.
Yeah.
That whole thing that's going on.
Big pharma.
They do not care if you get better. They just want you to, maybe they do, but it's really about how many patients they can see and prescribe, and it's not working.
No, the deficit of mental health in this country is huge. Just take the one sector of PTSD from military veterans. It's you served our country and now we just kind of cast you off. And psilocybin has been proven, not just in the back of High Times magazine, but Johns Hopkins and Harvard and big Ivy League schools have said that this is a very legitimate treatment for PTSD.
Just uncovering, like I call them the layers or whatever. But so from what I understand, which is very little about psychedelics and what they do, but apparently there's a part of our brain that takes all of stimuli, like that we don't even see, just all the waves and everything, and that coming at us, and it basically create and it organizes it into what we see as reality. And I've read or listened to very little information about that. These psychedelics kind of affect this part of your brain that opens that up. That's why there's so much stimuli and different things that come out when you're doing stuff.
From what I understand and my limited knowledge of it, basically, your brain, they call them, it's the neural pathways. And your brain has created these neural pathways where, it's like a roadmap. It's like freeways and roads. And what psychedelics can do is that they come in and they rewrite the map. So they scramble all those pathways that have been set for quite a long time. And they come in and they scramble them, and then your brain has to reroute its way into how it was thinking before.
So it just fast tracks the rewiring that we could sometimes do through
talk therapy
or meditation or just refocus or
breath work,
whatever. So it kind of maybe short circuits it. Interesting.
A lot of traditional talk therapy psychologists, psychiatrists say that they can get what they will normally take 6 months to 9 months of talk therapy, they can get that done in 5 hours. And, I'm not the right guy to kind of tell you how that works.
You're not a neurosurgeon.
I'm definitely not a neurosurgeon.
You're not a scientist.
No, I'm not a scientist.
But your wife probably has.
She knows all about it, and she understands the complexity and the subtlety of how the brain works, and how psychedelics, especially psilocybin, affect the brain and the way that you process things before and after your journey. And so that's why integration sessions are so important. Because you have to kind of uncover and digest those things and prepare you to get back into life. Because there's a lot of shit that's been stirred up.
I could imagine it'd be quite a deal coming out of that. And how do you handle that? You have to have some tools that you guys set them up with to handle that. Oh, I just broke open a Pandora's box or whatever. It's boom, and this stuff.
How do I put it back together? They talk about neuroplasticity, and there's kind of your brain kind of just has to get going again after your journey.
Is your wife involved? How is she involved?
So she's, at this point, she's the co-founder. So she helps, we've kind of split up our duties. And she is somewhat of the front line of our facility. She still has, her regular job. And so she is not a facilitator yet. She probably will be. She's wanting to transition into that. But right now it's just not in the cards.
What's a good, a typical person that comes to you? And where do they find you?
So that's a really good question. The census that we have right now is a lot of males in the 55 to 65 age group. We have people traveling from all over the country to see us. And we don't do any this is one of the first big media pushes that we've done. But it's just our website.
People searching for treatment, and it's oh, it's in Oregon. I'm going to fly out there.
That's exactly what's
because there's not that many.
No, there's only 27, and like, who wants to go to Portland?
Nobody anymore.
Portland's disgusting. Yeah. Bend, on the other hand, we have a lot to offer.
Yeah.
But we have somebody coming from, I think, Ohio, and they're coming to Sun River for a family vacation, and they're like, hey, I'm going to stop up and see these guys.
Why do you think it's the 55 to 65? Do you think it's because just built up stress over the years or whatever, or midlife or late midlife crisis?
Well, there's some of that, but I think also we've created this place, our center, specifically for the psychedelically naive. So those are people who are just they've never done psychedelics. They've heard Paul Stamets talk about it and how beneficial it is, but they want a place to do it, and they have the money, and they have the time. Mm-hmm. And so they seek us out and, benefit from our services. But yeah, I mean, I don't know why. I don't know why it's that group of people. Maybe we
I think, yeah, you're right. They just they're probably in a time of their life where they're like starting to tire a little bit, maybe, and they're just like, okay, like because of money, time, like you said, but it could be that you're just kind of worn out, getting to that point.
They're done,
and you're kind of like, maybe they're in a tough marriage, and what's next in the next stage of my life or something like that. Right?
A lot of the people that reach out to us, they're sick of like the cyclical cycles of their mental thinking. Mm-hmm. They want to break it.
Yeah.
So some people are stuck in talk therapy. Some people have like these character traits that they're just trying to get rid of. Mm-hmm. We've had a couple people that are like dealing with death and end of life stuff, but that population is very small. It's more people that are like, they're done with their psychiatrist, they're done with their psychologist, mm-hmm. or they're stuck, and they want more information to bring back to actually grow and kind of solve the problems that they went to their psychiatrist or psychologist in the first place for. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point, because like the therapy I've done in the past, like it never lasts, and it's just because they run out of things to offer. And it's really hard to break cycles, like you said.
Really hard.
It's like you think you have it figured out,
yeah,
and it creeps right back around.
No.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's human nature, though.
Yeah.
And what, like we're talking about, breaking those neural pathways, it really rewires you. And 30, 60, 90 days after your journey, you're still thinking about that thing that you had during your journey. And
you can reference back to it,
yeah,
right?
100%.
Because it's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
It's hard to forget. Like you can be like, okay, I'm doing that again. Oh, okay.
Right, and you've uncovered it, and hopefully you can, work on that. Because it takes a lot of work.
Yeah, well, it's people like me, I've never done psychedelics because I don't like that, like, if you get too stoned, for example, like you're like, whoa, dude, like it's just, you're tripping out.
Yeah.
And I just don't like that feeling. So that's why I've never considered trying that.
And that's where we come in. It's like, you're the perfect candidate. Because you're not comfortable with psychedelics. We give you the space to do that. We give you a guide. There's somebody that sits with you the whole time, and we want people like you to come and try it.
So if you start to get a little bit worried, someone's there, like, I've seen it a million times. Nobody dies from it.
No,
you know what I mean? Yeah. So you know what I'm saying? Like if you understand that, and you have someone helping you go with the flow, like I'm just going to experience this, even if it's a trip.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. That's why we have facilitators sitting with you.
Yeah.
Is so that you don't freak out and jump out a window. And so that you can get the most out of this kind of expensive thing.
Yeah. What's a good example of without names, just like somebody comes to you with this condition that they haven't been able to break, and maybe like a success story? around it?
Geez, that's. I don't have a lot of client interaction. My director of services would definitely have more to say about that. But from the people in our group, because everybody, when you go through facilitator training, you are encouraged to do what's called a practicum, where you actually take mushrooms and you sit with a facilitator and they do their job and you do your job, which is to go inward and figure it out. There's real big breakthroughs. I mean, people that I know personally have taken they call them a hero dose.
That's the macro.
That's the macro. We call it a hero dose. And, have decided that they are no longer going to be a slave to nicotine anymore.
Interesting.
And they just have decided.
Do you ever have people, and I know that you're not the facilitator, but do you ever heard of people who find out things that they didn't remember that were traumatic? There's like that. There's a therapy that we talked about, Connor, in one of these, Heidi.
Yeah.
Heidi Hazen talks about like sometimes you uncover things that you might not even remembered because there was before but it's not like that as much.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
That's kind of scary though. You know what I mean? Like think about it. Like if you're, it's like maybe you don't want to know, but maybe you need to know. I don't know.
Well, so let's say you do have something like that within you. There may be actions or thoughts or, the way you go through your daily life that you act in a way that you don't like. And it could be from a result of that previous trauma that you don't remember. So for me, I would want to discover those things and deal with them.
Yeah. But it's just, you know what I mean, though. It's kind of like, what
awful.
The hell's in there, man?
Yeah.
You just
it's
never
not.
know.
Yeah. And, maybe sometimes you just don't even, you just go inward and be, have more creativity and have, more, because mushrooms are kind of like, they're kind of like cannabis, where there's lots of different strains and each strain has different characteristics. And so we have 5 strains,
kind of like a sativa and
versus an indica, right?
And blah blah. Like one might get you party time, one might just be like mellow, chill.
Totally.
Yeah.
And some have more visual stimulus, and some have more creativity. Some have more body, some have more inward, some are more outward.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
so it's mushrooms are becoming like, my buddy has these. There's a place in Bend that makes these like nicely wrapped chocolate bars.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're nice. They look like a candy bar.
Right.
And they're building it up because it's about to be legal. The Oregon's about to do something, and they're like ready.
Oh yeah.
So they have these chocolate bars, and won't say who it is and all that stuff. But my buddy has a bunch of them. But I have lots of friends who are very successful people that like mushrooms because it's like they said it's like having a few beers because they're not getting super high off of them. They can take enough dose to where it's like having a few beers, but you don't have the side effects of alcohol.
No.
Which is
pretty
funny
amazing.
Because like alcohol is like the worst to me in my experience. It's awful. So I just think it's so funny how mushrooms or weed and it's like those things don't have hangovers and they're not make you addicted and at least physically addicted. And if there's alternatives to have a good time and enjoy and without the violence and the downside of it, like I'm all for it.
Yeah, I mean, if you can sit around and be creative and maybe if you took one extra piece of chocolate and you kind of go inward and you're like, man, I could be a different person if I change this. So
that's that thing where weed can do that on lower doses too.
Sure.
Where you can feel where you're, that's not a good thing to do. Why don't I do that? Like I'll just little light bulbs go off, right? Yeah. And that's what's so cool about these psychedelic style drugs is that in low doses, that they could give you little moments of reality check.
Yeah.
Where alcohol's more like, let's party, man.
Alcohol is, I don't understand why alcohol, I mean, I do, but like.
Because we talked about this, you don't drink or don't drink much.
No.
Yeah.
I don't drink at all.
Yeah.
But alcohol it's poison. It's literally
It's
poison.
literally
It's
poison.
awful. I don't understand why something like alcohol is so common, but something that can actually help you, like mushrooms, is still in its infancy and but studied way more.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
What do you think it is? Just momentum of just what was normal. Also, like alcohol has been around since the beginning, basically, because
mushrooms have been around since the beginning.
Yeah, but I don't know. Well, alcohol they made alcohol because it cured water, basically, right? And it was a form of also calories, maybe, or something.
Well, alcohol to make certain kinds of alcohol, you had to boil the water. So it was safer to drink the alcohol than it was to drink the water.
Mm-hmm.
My honest opinion is the alcohol lobby. You know?
Yeah. But it's worldwide.
Yeah.
It's not just America. I mean, we're actually moderate drinkers compared to parts of Europe.
Yeah.
Right? And Russia. You
Yeah.
know, but it's like it's so normal. And I'm just shaking my head, going, I know how destructive alcohol is personally, like in generations.
Yeah.
You know, so I just laugh when people there's still friends of mine who, oh my God, you're a loser if you smoke weed. Oh wow, you're a loser. And this guy's like drinking a half rack a day.
Right.
And I'm just like, you probably never tried it. You don't understand what it does. Right.
Well, and that's where there's a path, like you just talked about. There's a path of, you're a loser, you're a doper, you're a hippie if you smoke weed. Mm-hmm. What about if you do mushrooms?
Yeah, now you're real
now
hardcore.
You're like hardcore living in a VW bus. And we have tried to buck that trend and be very clinical about what we're doing, because it's if there's anything that's been studied, it is psilocybin, and it shows that it's actually beneficial. Mm-hmm. Alcohol is not beneficial in any way.
No.
Yeah,
but there might be people sitting, watching this down the road, and they're like, oh my God, like, why is Ryan talking about this stuff? It's because I want people to understand that the truth about this stuff, and the truth about alcohol, that they're probably drinking all the time, and I drink moderately. I used to drink heavily and party and stuff, but sure. I just know it's just bad stuff.
It's awful.
Yeah, so I like to bring up, especially with the MD. I don't know much about the MDA thing that the FDA is working on, but it's the same type of stuff. And the ketamine is, I don't know, that's not FDA stuff, but it's legal in Oregon to get the treatment, right?
Yeah, I think it's a Schedule 3 drug, so which means that you have to have like a prescription. You have to be monitored.
Yeah. And that's a trip, because they use that for dissociative something for when you go to have surgery or something, right?
Yeah, it's a tranquilizer.
Yeah.
But for people that are severely in bed, those things, your drapes drawn, in bed,
depressed,
severely depressed.
Yes, basically.
Ketamine's the only thing that works.
Yeah, because basically they just can't. The medication doesn't work. There's nothing that works in the ketamine.
Right. Yeah, they've tried every not over the counter, but prescription, antidepressant, and it doesn't do that.
It's interesting stuff, man.
Ketamine. I've never done ketamine. I've never done any of it. Never done any of these, but I'm super curious about it, just because I just know a lot of people that struggle with depression. Sure.
And these drugs can make it worse. The psych from they get from their doctors and stuff. And I just don't think they put a lot of thought and effort into what they're giving them. It's mostly like experiment. If this is going to be a journey for 2 years, we're going to try all this different stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just
Yeah, I mean, you got to remember that being a psychiatrist is a business. You got to keep clients coming through the door.
Oh, I've seen it firsthand.
Yeah.
How fast they get. It's like revolving doors.
Yeah, and it's the same thing. There's a vacuum. There's not enough mental health providers, even in Bend.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody earlier, and she was like, nobody can see me. Their books are full. You know.
Well, now they have assistants, just doing Zoom calls all day.
Really.
And those physicians' assistants can even prescribe.
Yeah.
And it's I've seen some very interesting firsthand stuff that didn't make sense to me. So anyway, I'm super I love when I had Heidi on, I love this stuff because it's like, let's try some other stuff that maybe could work, right?
100%. And it's not, you know, it is in the mental health space, but I think there can be other avenues that if you're stuck, that psilocybin can help. And it's not just if you're depressed. You know, we have one of our facilitators, her partner is a golf pro. And there's a lot of talk within his community on how psilocybin can help guys who are stuck with a shitty game.
Good. Hey, so there's something called the yips, baseball. My career was over because of the yips. That's what we're working on. I could throw almost 90 miles an hour to second base as a catcher.
Right.
And I started to rewire my brain somehow to the point where I could not throw. I could not throw the ball back to the pitcher.
See, I
went, how did that happen?
Right.
And it just spiraled quickly. And you literally, when the ball was in your hand, I was scared. And that's when you see Chuck Knobloch, who played in the big leagues for 20 years, played second base, and he's throwing it in the stands from second base at Yankee Stadium. And he's playing for the Yankees. Millions of people watching him, and he can't throw it to first base. I mean, there's countless people in the major leagues that have ended their career because of the yips. And golf has the yips.
Sure.
So that's what triggered me to see that. And it's those are how it could be broke. Let's get down deep in here and rewire it
what's
back.
going on?
How did that wire that way and get it back?
But that's that thing. It's that subconscious thing. Could you, you got scared because the ball was in your hand. I'm totally speculating, but maybe your dad yelled at you about something and there's this subconscious trigger that happens.
It happened so fast.
But there was a cascade of things that happened before that.
So weird.
It's so bizarre.
Yeah.
And maybe this can help you uncover that.
Yeah. Well, I don't need to throw anymore. I don't have the yips and anything else. But what could is people who are talented but can't get over their thinking too much.
Sure.
Right? It's I know I can do this, but why am I holding myself back?
What's holding me back?
Yeah.
What thoughts are holding me back?
So people who are successful, let's just use sports, for example, because that's the medium that I'm most experienced with in business.
And I'm the least experienced.
Yeah. Well, the most successful athletes just didn't think very much. They had a clear pathway to what they needed to do. And there was a lot of super talented people who, when they got any sense of failure, it was almost catastrophic to where, like you said, it would cascade on you and you couldn't control it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I mean, there's no outside influence.
You're why am I doing this?
But you had one goal, right? And there's no refrigerator hum in the background that's, you're losing your attention.
Yeah.
And you have that pure direction.
Yeah, it's like when you're so when I did sports psychology for 3 months, I had these tools that cleared it. And I was it was flowing.
Tell me about sports psychology. I mean, that's something that I'm very interested in trying to, attach ourselves to those people.
Yeah.
So what do you say? Hey, you sit down and you go, I have the yips. And they go,
well, I didn't have the yips at that time. This was before the yips.
Okay.
So this was my second year of probably 2000, the winter of 99, 2000, I think it was. I was very talented in that they wanted me to progress because they drafted me pretty high and they liked me and I just couldn't get over fears and anxieties of failure. Because baseball, you fail a lot. Right? You fail a lot. And I don't know, I think the pressure of being, people looking at me, expecting me to move fast to the big leagues, and I was going the other way, and that just, it was, when you say cascade, that's exactly what it does. It's not like it just a little bit at a time, like a little bit and then it just goes, whew, and you just drop off. And then you can't recover. You just can't recover very well. That's how
Why can't you recover?
It's hard to say, because it's a spiral thought process of negativity and fear. What are they thinking of me? Oh my God, I suck. I don't deserve to be here.
Oh, I overthrew
what the hell's
that.
going
now
on?
I'm really fucked.
Now I'm really screwed. Like, what am I doing? What? Like, I'm supposed to be this top prospect, and I suck. What the hell's wrong with me? And it cascades on you. I saw it a million times in pro ball. And so what sports psychology does is it teaches you do a lot of visualization and meditation. It's relaxation of the body, and they walk you through visualization of what it is to get up to the plate and smell the smells and see what's going on, and you're replicating it, and the slow motion swing, and so if you do that enough, you literally automatically do it when you're playing. I can't explain it. It's like your body does it and you don't even know it's doing it. So
it's like when we drill.
It's just like jiu-jitsu. When you start to, if you're having great time, sometimes it's the opposite in jiu-jitsu, where you're thinking too much and you're frozen. Oh my gosh. But when you're rolling and you're going, man, I've been good the last couple of weeks. It's like you're catching people in setting people up. Or you're catching people and not thinking about it too much. And you're like, holy shit, I'm getting pretty decent at this. That is, I would say, that is the flow when the sports psychology clears your brain. It clears it, but you have to do the work daily, right? You have
Multiple times a day.
Do it daily. You have to meditate and visualize daily, and trust yourself. Trust that your body's going to do it.
Trust the psychologist.
So in jiu-jitsu would be, okay, I've been 200 times in this year. Like, trust that my body actually, my subconscious saw that move 10, 15 times and is just going to catch it one of these times like that. That's what sports psychology does. It gives you tools to clear your brain. And if you don't have those tools, you're screwed. The problem is yips is different. I think yips is deeper than anything. That's why nobody recovers from the yips. It's very rare for someone to recover from the yips, because it rewires your feeling. Like, when I bring your ball up to throw, it feels foreign, like I've never been in this position before. It's the most bizarre experience, but it's super common, unfortunately.
That's interesting. So I'm not an athlete, and I started doing jiu-jitsu at 41, and I'm going to be 46 next week. And this is the first time in my life that I've had accomplishments and dedication and emotional involvement in a sport. And so I can't relate to what you're talking about, but I could see myself getting there. And yeah, man, sports are weird. The mental stuff behind sport. Like on Monday when we were in class, we were drilling, we were doing top bottom out, and I can't remember who I was with, but I started thinking. I was like, well, what if I just put my hand here? What if maybe I can make him move this way, and the whole thing went to shit. But if I'm automatic, and
trust, relax, wait,
relax, but it's all in there. We've drilled those moves so many times that like my body just wants to react. But if I think about it,
it's almost like you have to go into a role going, if I'm feeling like I want to think, I'm just going to play defense today.
Interesting.
Okay? So this is when I have upward progress, rapid upward progress, it's always precluded with a week of I suck.
Awful.
I just forgot everything.
Yeah.
I forgot everything.
You can't put anything together.
No.
You can't submit anybody.
can't do it. I just think, and then I just talk to people that we're like, there's some, feels like psychiatry, some psychology in there sometimes.
100%.
And then I just go, well, I don't understand what's wrong with me. But now when I have these moments, which are, every 2 or 3 months for about a week.
Yeah.
Now I go, this is good. Because
it's
going to be followed by this huge leap.
It's the darkness before the light.
A huge leap.
Yeah.
Boom. And then I go into it's like a different level.
Yeah.
So, and then you're in that flow state, and then it kind of repeats itself, right? So when you're in sports psychology, it's going to short circuit that. If I didn't have sports psychology background, that week that I struggled might end it. I could see where people quit or take a month off or suck, or they just go, I'm just going to go and show up and suck and get my ass kicked.
Yeah, I mean, and that's where I am. And I have started to understand where that growth period comes from, where you suck for a little while and then you grow. And my friend Dylan and I have like kind of discussed.
Dylan the painter?
No, Dylan the window guy.
Oh, okay, the big dude.
Tall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The guy that's like bigger than me, and we end up.
Yeah.
He's a white belt, right?
No, he's a blue belt.
Oh, Dylan, the tall, skinnier guy.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's 2 Dylans.
But we've talked about that. And there's so much, like, jiu-jitsu is so fun that I don't want to quit because of that.
I think I get down just because I have an athletic brain.
Dude. Well, so I like football. Like, I really like football, right? And I used to, like, when a play didn't work or something happened, and you see these guys run to the sideline, they throw their helmet, and they throw these little tantrums. I was always like, God, these guys, what babies. You're making, $86 million a year, and you're throwing your helmet because you can't catch a ball.
Yeah.
But in top, bottom out, I'll tell you, when I couldn't put the move together for a month, I understood that for the first time in my life.
Yeah, you're used to being at
I know I'm better
certain
than
level, and throwing. I don't think you should throw your helmet, no matter what. You're a pro. I think it's your teammates look at you and think you're a wuss, or whatever. But like, don't do it. Don't throw your helmet. But I understand why they do.
The emotion. I'm better than that. I can put that move together.
Yeah.
Why can't I do it?
Yeah.
I just got submitted by a white belt. What is wrong? Yeah. It was the first time in my life I could emulate that. And
So I guess when we change our brain, it's an opportunity to understand that you're going to get better, or it's an opportunity to realize that failure is part of it, and that you're going to feel that pain for a little while. But I think the top bottom out for me. And top bottom out is a drill we do in jiu-jitsu in positions, which I think positional sparring is probably the best way to spar.
Yeah.
So I like it. The problem is I do struggle in top bottom out because I think too much. Because you start in the position and you're going, okay, go. And you're going to go, well, you're thinking of different ways to do it, and you're both kind of relaxed at first. So it's not natural. It's not a natural flow. So I tend to not do great in that drill, but I try to experiment with it.
I didn't for a long time, like 2 years. And then I think my skill set kind of caught up, and I'm able to like hold people off a little bit so that I can like settle in and get into the move and actually try and do it. But yeah, it's still few and far between, but I'm not as focused on winning or losing. I'm focused on getting better.
Yeah. Well, and that's good. So Aaron just graduated with sports psychology.
Yeah, that's right.
He was on the podcast a while back.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about this
Yeah.
because I think a lot of people do jiu-jitsu because Matt mentioned it's a sport of broken people, right? And what means is that people go. It's really good for mental health. A lot of people were in there because you have to kind of like the fight because it's not karate where you hit the air. Like, you're sparring every day, you're fighting every day.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a different martial art, but it's very mental because it's a chess match and it's super physical, right? So there's a ton of mental side to the sport.
Yes.
It's not just repeating moves. And so that's why I think, Aaron's could do well in the jiu-jitsu world of sports psychology through meditation, because if you practice in your mind and you're super relaxed, or maybe microdosing or macrodosing or whatever, and you're in this and you're flowing, you're unlocking your subconscious of the moves that you've banked over the years that you maybe don't even think about.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think,
and that's kind of deep. But
I don't think it's deep at all. I don't think it's deep at all, and I think it's very pertinent to our conversation. And I actually approached Aaron, and I was like, "Hey, how do you see this treatment in line with what you're doing?" Because I don't think that there's a whole lot of difference in the pro category of a guy, like you were saying, picking up a ball and feeling weird.
Yeah.
Grabbing somebody's arm and like, what do I do with it now?
Mm-hmm.
And then you lose, and it's like, well, how can we address that? You've gone through sports psychology. Maybe you got something out of it. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you're in a block.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this is the next step for you, which is psilocybin.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
I mean, I see huge benefit in it. I feel like it's almost perfect for that.
It'll be weird it's so far removed from sports, though, you know what I mean? But we're like looking in the future going, this is how it could apply. But it would take a major shift in thought process and acceptance of, like, if you're an athlete, to go, God,
I think the 10th Planet guys are totally into this. It just something tells me.
I think weed is very prevalent, at least weed in the jiu-jitsu community.
Sure, but what's,
right?
Mushrooms and weed, they go together. But I don't know, man. I feel like there's room in that space for it.
I mean, it makes sense, like it could be just understanding it, because the mental side of these sports can, a lot of people just can't handle it and they quit because it's just like, wow, I just can't get over basically can't get over yourself,
And your ego needs to die.
Ego needs to die.
Yeah, man, and that's what we can do.
I've been spending like the last 10 years dismantling my ego, and it's still beating me up.
It's a daily thing, trying to get your ego to subside.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff, man. Well, yeah, maybe your wife could come on one of these times. That'd be cool. You never know.
I would like my wife to come on.
Yeah, because she probably knows a little bit more about the brain functions.
Well, I think my director of services should come on.
Yeah.
Because he really has a lot. He ingests this stuff on a daily basis, and he's really more into he reads every article that comes out. He knows every study going on.
It's going to be more mainstream. It's becoming more mainstream, and it's just heading in that direction. Just like 10 years ago, Connor? That weed started becoming, I mean, you're too young, but when did weed start becoming legal and where it was more acceptable?
I can't remember, but it was definitely within the past 10 years.
Yeah.
That like we got dispensaries and, it was like the stigma was gone.
Yeah. So I think this is where it head, but I feel that this seems to have way more practical
practical application, but like everybody knows a bunch of people, not just a few, but a bunch of people that are microdosing right now. Like I feel like I like to say like mushrooms are the new cocaine because everybody's doing it.
Yeah, except you're not going to get in too much trouble.
No, that's the great thing. It's like you're actually like doing benefit to your life.
Yeah.
You're like trying to overcome depression. Okay, well, I'm not going to drink anymore.
Well, that's another thing is people drink to make themselves feel better, and it makes it 20 times worse.
Yeah.
You're drinking a depressant.
Yeah, I know. It's just, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But, if you're microdosing and trying to get over it, like that's good.
I know everybody who I know microdoses, they're successful, good people. This isn't like drug addiction party time here. This stuff works for people.
It works.
And that's why I wanted to learn more about it. So.
But it's not just that it works, it's clinically documented.
Yeah.
From big schools. Mm-hmm. Not some dude that, goes down to Baja in his van. It's real. This is real stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Well, good, man. Well, thanks for coming on. I mean, is there anything else you want to go over? We're good.
Just plug the website. It's bendinneralchemy.com.
Awesome, man. Yeah. yeah, we'll get you on the when I do my intro and everything.
Cool.
Cool. Thanks for coming, man.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.